To the baseball, everybody. It's 11:01 a.m. It's Sunday, October 12th. Welcome. Bienvenue. Bienvenidos will come in and welcome. I have to do all the languages because we have to talk in French a little bit. So, bonjour to our friends in Canada. It is time for the third episode of Sayonara Baseball's postseason coverage of 2025. My name is Brandon Payne-Weiser, and from the library, I'm in the greenhouse still, from the library, Commander Kazuki Akiba. Kazuki, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
It is a few hours before the ALCS is about to begin because we had two series that went the distance in the divisional rounds. We're going to get right into it. And everyone who's listened to this podcast for the last 5 years knows that we were going to spend a considerable amount of time on a few games, namely Game 5 of the Tigers-Mariners series. But we're going to start in seeding order. And that is in the American League, we're going to go to the 1 seed versus the 4 seed. And that is Toronto versus New York. So let's start with Game 1 in Toronto. So what we're going to do for every series, for those who are new to the program, we go through the games that have occurred, and then we preview the next round based on the games that have occurred. So this time we'll have 2 divisional rounds per league. So American League will have 1-4, then we'll have 2-3, and then we'll preview the ALCS, and then we'll do the same thing in the National League. American League, New York, Toronto, starts in Toronto. Game 1, Yankees 1, Toronto 10. I will stop there before I go into the details here. That score line does not sit with an ALDS type of game. Like, we're going to talk about the Brewers and the Cubs after we get through the American League. Every one of those games was tight. What happened? Just what motivation and what series of events allowed for the Blue Jays to score? We're going to talk about 23 runs to 8 in 2 games. I mean, just off of that, why do you think the Blue Jays can pour out 23 runs at home against the Yankees?
I could probably talk about it more as we talk about the ALCS matchup, but Blue Jays is such a contact-oriented team. They had the lowest strikeout in baseball.
They kept saying that, and we'll talk about that. They kept saying that throughout the broadcast, and I didn't understand the context of what that means until now that you bring it up and you reflect on the score. So let's get into it. Because like I said, you're going to talk about, because the Mariners and them, spoiler, the Mariners won in the most epic game, at least since 1995 for me. Postseason win, first postseason win for the Blue Jays in Game 1 since Game 4 of 2016 versus the ALCS versus Cleveland. Alejandro Kirk, who is, I think, more and more becoming a part of the national lexicon, the international lexicon of the best catcher in baseball, because of how good he is and how many all-star games he's been in a row now. He had 2 home runs. Vladdy had 3 for 4 with a home run and a sac fly. Kevin Gausman pitched 5 2/3. Yankees essentially with a bullpen game. He only threw 48 pitches in 2 2/3. Yankees didn't have a runner in scoring position until Volpe got a double in the 6th in this game. And Luke Weaver again failed to retire a single batter. No outs recorded any of the 6 batters faced in 2025 postseason so far to that point. So that's Game 1. And like I said, Game 2 followed a very similar script. The Blue Jays scored double-digit run for the second game in a row. Yankees pitching was bad. I put woeful in our notes, but bad is pretty similar in this case. 13 runs were off 2 pitchers, Max Fried and Warren. That's 7 2/3 innings. Blue Jays hit 5 home runs. And then we'll pause here. Yesavage, the young pitcher for the Blue Jays, took the Cam Schlittler torch and ran with it.
He's going to be a top 20 pitchers in baseball next year. He's just really talented.
Can you enlighten the audience? How did he come to the majors? Was he a homegrown product out of the Blue Jays organization?
Yep, coming from the minor, and I think he was only in Double-A this year, so he just went.
So he pulled a Mizorowski almost. He pulled a Mizorowski and came up streaming real fast out of the minors.
Yeah,
He threw 78 pitches in game 2, 5 2/3, no hits, no earned runs, and 11 strikeouts, which, if that sounds familiar, that's almost what Cam Schlittler did in game 5 against the Red Sox. The 5 consecutive Blue Jays pitchers only managed. This was crazy to me to write this out. After Savage left, 5 pitchers only managed to pitch a third of an inning each, allowing 7 total runs, which is, I did not expect the Blue Jays bullpen collapse to be this.
Well, to be fair, if you look at all those names, to give you context, Jays were up by 8 at that point. They were already blown out.
They had the game in hand, but Brewhill, Lauer, and Nance all gave up multiple runs. Fisher and Fluharty, the second and the fifth pitchers, didn't allow a run. Again, we'll conclude on this stat for the game. Both teams batted almost 500 or better with runners in scoring position. The Yankees batted 5 for 7, which is 700, 710 almost. And the Blue Jays batted 444 with runners in scoring position. They went 4 for 9. Like, this is, talk about, tension builds in these games. Tension did not build in this game. Tension was thrown way out the window in this game. So we'll go to game 3. Quick on game 3. Blue Jays 6, Yankees 9. Yankees scored 8 unanswered runs to live another day. The Yankees bullpen pitched 3-inning shutout, or a 3-hit shutout over 6 2/3 innings with 9 Ks. And Aaron Judge had his reclamation game. That's pretty much that. That's pretty much game 3.
Yeah, pretty much. I think if you look at the entire postseason, Aaron Judge carried the entire weight here. Like, he had over 500 across the board, and his team did absolutely nothing outside of a couple home runs here and there. Like, Jazz did absolutely nothing besides cause an error, which will lead into in game 4. But they've been all disaster besides Judge.
Game 4, Blue Jays 5, Yankees 2. Blue Jays win the series. Blue Jays bullpen, they did it again. They did this crazy bullpen matchup thing, and we can talk about that in the next round. But their manager is so smart. I mean, I'll say he is so intelligent with how he looks at matchups. Like, this may be a thing about the front office through them, but they look at every specific scenario and pick a option for that scenario. Because to throw 8 pitchers, not throwing more than 27 pitches over the course of a series clinching game is very, very strategic. And we see this a lot in baseball, but this was.
I wouldn't say sure, you could say intelligent, but it's the same front office from 2016. I don't think the Blue Jays fans would agree with that sentiment. They've done a lot better this year. I think it's partially, yes, they have better talent in the bullpen.
Different manager in 2016, though, I presume, correct?
Yeah, but it's been the guy who replaced Montoya since 22, right? So it's been the same guy.
Same guy. Yeah.
So no one's gonna agree with you on that part. But I think it's a much better team. Maybe he has gotten better as a manager, but I think it's also part of it is better talent for the Blue Jays bullpen, but also the Yankees hitters are just awful this series. So maybe I think.
And again, they ruined the Cam Schlittler's second stellar game to play the postseason.
Yeah, especially that Jazz Chisholm double play that turned into an error is just this is what they've been talking about since the last postseason, right? With the Dodgers, if you make it into play, Yankees will screw up, and that's what exactly always happens. They are fundamentally a horrible team, and I don't think the front office will change or they'll address it. They're all just going to be boom or bust, hit home runs, but never do the fundamentals. They'll never have good defense. They'll have 5 DHs in their lineup.
So off into the New York night they go. And now, Kazuki, we're going to get into the series that captivated the nation. That is Tigers Mariners. So we'll start with game 1 in Seattle. Tigers 3, Seattle Mariners 2. 11 innings. Zach McKinstry hits the game-winning single that bring home Spencer Torkelson after a walk, and then he reached second on a wild pitch. Mariners offense struggled. Julio Rodriguez was the only offense for the Mariners. But the bullpens in this game, Both pitched 5 hitless innings until the tables turned into extras. And this was redemption for Melton.
Yeah, Troy Melton's it's one of the talented minor league piece that they had. They refused to trade during the deadline, I think, when other teams were asking for all the talent, whether it's Yohan Duran, etc. And it shows why in this series that he just has great fastball. He just has good stuff. You can't get rid of a guy like that, I think, for your future, right? So I think that's part of it. And I think the other issues, Dan Wilson kind of showed his rookie mistakes here and there. I feel like this is where they fear the Kerry Carpenter, where they were up by 1 with George Kirby, and they still let him pitch against Carpenter when he's been seeing the ball really well and he hits a home run. And I think that's been the entire series where Carpenter keeps hitting home runs. That becomes gives the Tigers a lead, and you see that in game 5 too.
We're going to go to game 2 first. We got to build up to game 5. We got to build up to game 5. Game 2. See, it's Detroit Tigers 2, Seattle Mariners 3, and Jorge Polanco solves Tarek Skubal. Skubal had 9 strikeouts in this game. We'll get to game 5, but he had 9 in this game. Luis Castillo threw 85 pitches, allowing 1 hit over 4 2/3, and Jorge Polanco was the only offense in this game for a while. And then Detroit's 2 runs came off a Torkelson double that scored Green and Torres after a walk in a fielding error. That was Matt Brash that was pitching.
Yeah, and there's a theme I want to build up to is they've been throwing fastballs in these first 2 games, and we're going to build up to that. But that Torkelson double was such a lucky hit, I would say. It was a fastball outside that came after a lot of sliders, and he somehow poked it to opposite field where no one was expecting, because Torkelson is a hitter. If you look at his profile, he's a heavy pull hitter, and no one expected him to go to right field.
The Mariners regained the lead and won after back-to-back doubles by their all-stars, Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh, then Julio Rodriguez. Rodriguez scored Raleigh. So to game 3. This game had a 3-hour rain delay in Detroit. And then Logan Gilbert takes the mound, and the Mariners win 8-4 in Detroit. Logan Gilbert pitches a gem. Eugenio Suarez hits a moonshot in Detroit, putting the Mariners up 3 early in the top 4. Mariners bullpen performed well until Caleb Ferguson had a rough day. He failed to record, now gave up 3 runs in the 9th. That was the Andy Ibanez homer. I was all of that. Andy Ibanez came in and pitch hit. Is the top pitch hitter in baseball this year. And then
Jahmai Jones is probably his biggest factor. Yeah.
Andres Munoz had to come in and save the game here. Finish at 8-4. So the Mariners can win the game in Detroit, win the series in Detroit. And as we start game 4, it looks like they're going to do it. Bryce Miller is pitching very well. And then the bullpen comes in. And the final score of this game turns out to be Mariners 3, Tigers 9. Tigers scored all 9 runs unanswered after Bryce Miller pitched a pretty good game until he gave a couple runs at the very end, but then they go to the bullpen. Spire, Bizzardo, and Vargas all each allowed 2 earned runs or more in one inning pitched or less. Kerry Carpenter still did not record a hit in this game, which just stuns me. And Troy Melton gets the win. And this is, again, his 2nd game where he's building back up after he is building was he scheduled to be to develop into a starter? Is he going to stay in the bullpen mostly for the Tigers?
He is a starting pitching prospect who just got caught up in July because obviously they had a lot of injuries.
So there's a potential that next year he's in the starting rotation. There's a potential for that. But right now he has become their super long reliever after again, we'll talk about that bad game against the Guardians, but he has come back and pitched very well. So to game 5. And if you've watched baseball, if you watch the highlights, you know what we're about to say. Kazuki, where were you when you watched this game that lasted well over 5 hours?
I mean, obviously TV at home, right?
So I watched the game for the first 7 innings and realized if I watched the game, the Mariners didn't score and the Tigers did score. So I turned the game off, which sounds sacrilegious when you say it out loud. But I couldn't obviously not pay attention anymore. So I did what our audience expects us to do. I turned on the Mariners radio broadcast, and they had a 3-man booth. Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill Jr., Rick Riz, and they just rotated every inning. And you could just listen to them. It was like a wave. It was up and down, up and down. And we as baseball fans were experiencing this up and down, up and down, up and down. So let's go through this. 15-inning instant classic. Adam Amin, AJ Przinsky, and Adam Wainwright on the call for Fox Sports did a masterful job because Adam Amin knows how to lay out and just let the game show itself. He's done that for years, covering basketball for ESPN and now Fox Sports with football, basketball, and baseball. The Mariners get ahead early with a sac fly. And then the Mariners only managed a total of 2 hits across 6 innings with Tarek Skubal.
I mean, I would say I think this is where Mariners really need to sign a guy like Josh Naylor in the offseason where
Josh Naylor and Jerry DiPoto and you have a serious conversation.
Hits a double and he steals third. No one expected that. Steals third, and then you get a sack
because
from Mitch Garver.
He is clandestinely one of the fastest people on the Mariners roster. He successfully steals bases better than most players, which is.
I mean, the funny part is he's not that fast, but he stole like probably.
I guess he knows when to steal.
No, he stole more bases as a Mariner than he did as a D-backs, and that's why he got to 2020 this season. It's
really?
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, he stole I think 16 bases this year as a Mariner only, and I think he only stole like maybe 6 or 7 as a D-backs. So like the amount of steals he got accumulated is
3 for 4 in this game. I feel like he batted really well in this game.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So the Tarek Skubal again, 13 strikeouts, 99 pitches, 6 innings across 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run.
Yeah, I mean, masterful job from Skubal, and I mean, we all know the end.
Cy Young, second year in a row, kind of worthy numbers like this.
But
this
the record is just cricket, where he has not won a single. The 4 games he pitched in, he has not won. His team has not won a single game.
He's getting Felix Hernandez. He's getting Felix Hernandez. If everyone knows Felix Hernandez, when he won the Cy Young, had a crooked record.
Yeah,
like he just couldn't win. He didn't have many decisions, let alone wins. So the Tigers then go ahead in the 6th inning off of Dan Wilson thought he was being smart, and he was being smart, but he got bested by a great hitter in Kerry Carpenter. So they take George Kirby out.
And Kirby was in cruise control, like no runs allowed, 66 pitches only.
Right. So they go, we can't let him face a righty. Kerry Carpenter cannot face a right-handed pitcher, let alone the pitcher going through 3 times. Lefty, Gabe Spire. Gabe Spire, not a good game last game. Gabe Spire, good relief arm, comes in, and then he throws a dead red fastball. And Kerry Carpenter turns on a lefty, which he does not do very often, but he turned on that ball. And the air was taken out of T-Mobile Park. Gone. Just gone. And you can listen to all the pundits try to justify whether that was a bad or a good or bad decision that the Mariners put in Gabe Spire. We're not going to talk about that for a while because we're going to probably revisit it again in the next round. But top 7, the Blue Jays think they got the Mariners number. The Mariners,
Tigers, not Blue Jays yet.
Sorry. I did this every time. These are my notes too. The Tigers think they have the Blue Jays number. The Tigers think they have the Mariners number. Wow, too many teams here. Tigers think they have the Mariners number. AJ Hinch calls a pitcher from the bullpen. The Mariners are going to pinch hit Dom Canzone, and then they go, no, for Mitch Garver. No, we're going to pinch hit Leo Rivas for Dom Canzone, who was going to pinch hit for Mitch Garver. And just like during the end of the regular season, career minor leaguer Leo Rivas delivers a beautiful RBI single to tie this game at 2.
Yeah, could I mention the mistake from Hinch here? Like
talk about the mistake from Hinch, because this was like chess checkers and then like going backwards on your pieces.
He made a fatal mistake. So like I think it was like first and second and no outs. Finnegan was obviously losing some gas. And there was a lefty up, Josh Naylor. If I were like Hinch, I would have gotten Holton right there against Naylor, but he didn't for some reason. But
left Finnegan in.
Yeah, Finnegan in, and then he brought in Holton once, like, Wilson was going to take out, Garver for Canzone, which makes no sense. It was a step too late, and that's where he paid the price, I think, in the sending in. Therefore, the series.
Rivas got the last, because Wills got the last laugh and put Rivas in, and Rivas, who's been a clutch hitter for the Mariners in a couple of big games. Done and done. And then we enter 7+ innings of just straight clutch your fists, clutch your toes, and postseason baseball. Both teams go to their closers, who pitch across multiple innings. Vest and Munoz both pitch more than an inning. And then we get the 95 ALDS runaround. The Mariners go to their opening day starter, Logan Gilbert. What is going on? The broadcast, the radio broadcast are just going, they all know this script. If the Yankees are playing, Jack McDowell would come from beyond the center field wall and come into this game. But it's the Tigers. And AJ Hinch throws Montero and then John Flaherty. Another great starter. Historically, having a tough year, but historically, great starter. So the Mariners go Gilbert, Bizzardo, and then Luis Castillo. Bizzardo had to get out of a two-on jam in the 12th. Montero, Flaherty, Canely comes in to finish the game off in the 15th.
Yeah, can I mention Bizzardo? He pitched in every single game here. All 5 games.
He pitched in all 5 games. That was my question. Were there any relievers for the Mariners that pitched all 5 games?
I think it's mainly him, and maybe Spire didn't. It's mainly been just him. Bizzardo, all 5
Brash
games.
Brash didn't do 5 either, did he?
Brash did 5. So he came in after Spire screwed up, and then he threw in 2 innings, and then Munoz threw like a 1 and a third, and then after Gilbert threw like multiple, then you had
Gilbert threw 2. Bizzardo pitched an inning plus.
Yeah, he threw almost like 40 pitches, and then Castillo came in. So the arm's like blown out basically from all the top arms.
I mean, we're not going to get into Mariners lore this all the time, but Matt Brash was a starter for years. He was a starting prospect, and he has become like their long reliever, and he throws hard, and he's gotten hits hard couple games, but he did exactly what the Mariners brought him up to do in this game, which is just get guys out, and he did. So Gilbert, Bizzardo, Castillo, and then we go Montero, Flaherty, and then Canely, and then bottom of the 15th, Tommy Canely, former Yankee Tommy Canely. So the coincidences start coming along. Crawford singles, a Rosarine is hit by the pitch. Run on first and second. Kyle Raleigh puts a good one in the sky, sacrifice fly, and Parker Meadows kind of like bobbles it. He has a fielding error, but he gets a sac fly. So the runners advance on a routine fly ball, which I think this is what cost him, because they had to walk Julio. And now we have 1 out. The bases are loaded, and Jorge Polanco, who has had this team's number against top pitching all series long, comes in and ropes one into right field. And the game's over. T-Mobile Park, Seattle loses its mind. Mariners Nation loses its mind. Because the guy that everyone kind of like regaled as like, why'd you trade for him? Pulls through.
Yeah, I mean, and then re-signed, right? Because he was hurt last year, and then re-signed.
Yeah,
for 1 year. And then, he came through. Like, he hit 26 home runs. It's been a comeback season for him, and I think the crazier stats is more on the Tiger side. So now that the game's over, Scooble lost all 4 games. He's 0-4 this season, including these 2 playoff games.
0-4 in the postseason, even though he has pitched generally 4 of his best career type performances in all 4 games.
He clearly shut the Mariners down, and yet that shows the Tigers' offense has been dead since July. And then on top of that, the other stat that I feel like no one talks about is Tommy Kahnle in a game clinching or in any playoff game. So since 2017, it was the Yankees. Every single game that decides a winner take all or losing game, he gives up runs and makes the team lose the game. So every game he pitches in, it ends up being a loss. So maybe for any playoff team in the future, don't use Tommy Kahnle in a game deciding game.
Yeah, series deciding game. Don't use Tommy Kahnle. So, but there's one stat about this game. We're going to get into it right now that we'll probably talk about a little bit later on. The pitch selection for the Mariners after the Carpenter home run was extremely noticeable. And Kazuki found the stat, and I'm going to try to rattle off the general gist of it. After the Carpenter home run off a fastball, Dan Wilson must have said something to every pitcher, or the pitching coach must have said something to every pitcher when they come off the field. And I basically was, don't throw a fastball. Because when you watch Logan Gilbert go out there and pitch in extras, I don't think he threw more than 5 fastballs. He must have thrown splitter, slider, change up, and then Castillo. These guys did not throw fastballs anymore. And I think the end result was, like you said, like it was like 30% fastballs in this game and like 80% breaking pitches.
Yes, the sliders were at least 50% thrown in the entire game, and then it's around like 15% fastball. So only 30 fastballs were thrown the entire game,
which is absurd. In a game going 15 innings, they're asking every pitcher to throw breaking pitches. So wild stuff. And that leads us to the ALCS preview, which we're going to get into, and then we're going to drop into the National League. So the ALCS preview. Projected, well, we know the confirmed Game 1 starters are Kevin Gausman and the one starter who we know did not touch the ball in Game 5, Bryce Miller. We presume Game 2 is Savage versus Castillo. 3 is Bieber Kirby. 4 is Scherzer, Brian Wu. If Brian Wu comes off the injured list, that has not been reported yet. And then we'll go into rotation 6 and 7. In terms of general statistics for this year, let's go into the analytics workshop here with Kazuki, and let's break this down. WRC plus, Jays 112, Mariners 113. That's second and third in the league. Cut and dry. Fielding ratings. Toronto, way up there, number 1, plus 44 in FRV. Seattle is a minus 29. Puts them in the lower part of the first half, a 12th. FIP. Jays are 11th. Mariners are 7th. Bullpen. Mariners have the 5th best FIP for bullpen. Jays have the 10th best. So we are just trading points here in terms of like advantages. Jays offense scored a bunch of runs against the Yankees, and we know they can do it. They can do it, especially at home. And this series is starting at the former Skydome, Rogers Center in Toronto tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern. There are 2 significant injury updates to affect this series. For the Blue Jays, is Bo Bichette going to play? For the Mariners, is Brian Wu going to play? And I think they have different effects on each one. So the Bo Bichette inclusion. Bo Bichette gets off the injury list and plays. How does that affect the lineup for the Blue Jays? What's going to be the big difference here if Bo Bichette joins the lineup? You think?
Well, I think because of his knee issue, I don't know if he could play shortstop, his regular position, so he might be limited to DH. Therefore, George Springer, who's been to DH, might need to play the outfield.
And that would transition the outfield to something other than what was in the
like Nathan Lukes will probably not be in the lineup. Is my
So
guess.
Nathan Lukes would
Just
go
the-
back to the bench and be like their number one pincher off the bench. Okay.
Yeah.
And if Brian Wu comes in, Brian Wu becomes, a slated starter. That's
Yeah.
a simple concept.
I think the biggest question is like, is Mariners doing like a 5-man rotation? Because usually, historically, playoffs have been like 4-man rotation.
They haven't been 3-man rotations, let alone 4 or 5. But the Mariners can go 5 deep, which is
because like personally, I think if the game 5 didn't probably happen, I don't see Bryce Miller being a starter in this series at all. He would have been a bullpen arm. Would have been my guess.
Bryce Miller would have basically become the second Matt Brash in this series. Matt Brash pitches 2 to 3 innings and throws hard, gets it done. Bryce Miller throws hard, but he also good. He's has good mix of pitches. But he pitches, 3 or 4 innings, and even the Tigers broadcast on Game 4 even said like he's pitching really good. I'm surprised I'm surprised we never heard of this guy until now in this series. So that's kind of how we did it. So basically, Game 1 and Game 5 of the ALDS for the Mariners kind of threw like a little bit of a pattern change for the Mariners pitching rotation and bullpen arms. So we'll see how that goes. But let's get into the matchups. This is where you shine. So like I said, these teams are basically neck and neck in offensive production. So we're going to look at pitching, bullpen, defense, because offensively they are somewhat similar. People always malign the Mariners for being a not offensive productive team, but the analytics say they're pretty much on par with the Blue Jays. Toronto's approach: they don't strike out, they don't hit a lot of home runs, but they also get on base a lot, and they use up a ton of pitches. Like there was a stat I'm going to get to in the National League where one team threw 70 more pitches than the other team, and I feel like the Blue Jays will do that to anyone they can.
Yeah, I don't think they walk as much either, but they'll foul off anything and they'll make contact. They're aggressive team. They'll swing a lot, especially in the zone.
They're gonna swing a lot. And again, let's go to the Blue Jays. Get this started. George Springer, standout performance, very high WRC plus, elite production. Second half of the year has a WRC plus over 200, and he's 35 years old. Great stuff. We go to the historically the person that everyone looks at for this team for offense production. That's Vladdy Guerrero Jr. He's got it all, and he plays a good first base, which is where we're going to start here. Kind of like defensively, the Jays are really good. They have behind the plate. This is a matchup of catchers analysis for a lot of things, but when it comes to calling a game, Cal Raleigh calls a good game. Not going to argue that. But Alejandro Kirk, he's been here a while, and he calls a great game. He is really good and an all-star for many years because of stuff like this. There's a reason why the Blue Jays can bring in heavy-duty starting pitching at the deadline, and they become great, like Bieber. And it's because they have people behind the plate like Alejandro Kirk. Other position players: Varsho, Jimenez, and Clement. People you don't hear talk about a lot in terms of like great players on this team are solid, dependable defensive players, because the Blue Jays can, put up a ton of runs and give up a few, but they can give up a few because of this. They got good defense. And
not to mention Clement, especially hit against the Yankees. He just destroyed the Yankees. Like he was on.
Oh yeah, when they talked about the bench, they looked at him, looked at Addison Barger, and they all the guys like, you probably don't know these guys, but they're destroying you right now. And that's basically what any team is afraid of. It doesn't have to be the big names for the Blue Jays. The guys you haven't heard of are gonna make your life hard. But the thing that the Mariners like to run on bases. They can't do that as Alejandro Kirk. Dylan Dingler, sure. Alejandro Kirk is gonna watch you like a wolf. Like he is gonna watch every move you do, and if he sees you lean just too much, he's gonna get you. He's gonna bring that attention to the pitcher, to the infielders, and he's gonna get you. So running on him is gonna be a real challenge. On the Mariners side, their offense was good, slumped a little bit, but came back. They need to just match this contact to extra base threat for the Blue Jays. So the main thing is Toronto's going to beat you with singles and doubles, and they're going to not let you score a lot of runs. Seattle has to get out ahead early and bring the pitching, because the Seattle pitching, as we saw in games 3 and 5, particularly in the ALDS against the Tigers lineup, when they get in a groove, there's nothing, you can't beat them. That's what I really think this is going to hinge on. So we'll talk about the pitching. Kevin Gausman, Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller is like you said, wasn't expected to probably be here, but because he wasn't used, other than that start in game 4, he's on full rest. Kevin Gausman he's been here with what? How many teams has Gausman in the playoffs with? The Blue Jays, Giants,
Orioles.
and Orioles. So he's been in some tight spots, and this is nothing new to him. He's got a home start, and Toronto's going to be buzzing. So we have that.
Not to mention it's a rematch for him because of 2022, and he pitched in game 2 where he was supposed to win, and Toronto blew that game.
That was the 8-7 game where they came back, and yes, 8-7 game. So Toronto has the early edge with Gausman if he stays sharp. Can't have that game 2 in the wild card round 2022. We go to game 2, and this is the vet versus the rookie. Luis Castillo, Cy Young type candidate pitcher from the Reds to the Mariners, great pitcher. But Savage is an unknown commodity. And if he's anything like the last 2 games he's pitched, boy, howdy, this is going to be fun for him, because he struck out 11 against the most potent hitting lineup in baseball. So will he do that again? And will Luis Castillo did what he did starting throughout the year, and then this bullpen performance that saved the season for the Mariners? Game 3. These are all projected at this point. We have Bieber versus Kirby, and this is just Bieber being Bieber versus George Kirby being the star pitcher that he has been this year. This is the kind of like the equal tested matchup. Game 4 and so on is where you start getting a little more looser predictions. Max Scherzer, potentially, who's the vet. And this is where Brian Wu could factor. Because if Brian Wu is marked as available for this series, this is the game he probably pitches. We think he could go game 3, but most likely be game 4. And Brian Wu in front of the T-Mobile crowd, I think they are going to will him to do something incredible. I really hope so. I also think that we'll talk about this. We'll get to the very end. Every game in this series is a home game for the Blue Jays. That may sound crazy when you think about it, but if the ticket sales align to what they do historically for this series, Blue Jays fans from British Columbia pour into Seattle when they play in Seattle. It's usually 50-50. 50% Blue Jays fans, 50% Mariners fans. I'm not sure how that's going to roll out here. Like the Mariners could say, like, we're not going to release tickets to people with Canadian phone numbers, Canadian zip codes, whatever, because crazier things have happened in other sports. But this game could be 50-50 and when it goes back to T-Mobile Park. And that could be a little bit of a shock factor to the Mariners, but they've kind of been here before. But we go over the hump into this series. When will Logan Gilbert pitch, and who's going to be the first pitcher to come back? That's pretty much what we look at for starting pitching. Bullpen, we saw the Blue Jays will just pitch anyone they want in the bullpen as whenever they feel like it. And the Mariners kind of a little more of like Dan Wilson's kind of has learned a little bit like when to put the right guys. He's learned his lesson. So the question is who's gonna use their bullpen more and when. General sense here. Because there are certain pitchers that I think are not going to go as deep into games versus certain pitchers that are going to go deeper into games. use the bullpens, use not. And like I said, Bizzardo, all 5, Brash, all 5. Top bullpen arms, Gabe Spire, Caleb Ferguson. We know Andres Munoz is he'll just bring it down a notch. The game comes to a close. That to say, turn over to the Blue Jays. Anyone can do anything for them. Like, they'll just put anyone they want in the game, and they'll just figure it out.
Dominguez, Hoffman don't have a lot of good arms.
Yeah, there's nothing to say there. And then we'll get into kind of the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths for the Blue Jays. We talked about this before. Defense, they are low strikeout, high contact. They have very good starting pitching consistency. They have this mental edge where that, like, look who they beat. They put the Yankees to bed, and not with a lot of, not a lot of fear factor. And they put the Yankees to bed, and they know how to use their bullpen in very creative ways. Like Kazuki said, it's how creative that's going to be. We'll see. Mariners, best starting pitching in the business. Say it again. The best starting pitching in the business. That rotation could go 5 deep in the postseason and be really good. Their bullpen is really good. Can't have what happened in a few of the games in the ALDS, but really good bullpen.
Yeah, I think the warning here is they're pretty overused after the multiple extra inning games.
Right.
So, and then they only could trust like basically 4 arms: Munoz, Brash, Spire, and Bizzardo. So after those 4, you're kind of screwed.
Right. Vargas and Ferguson are a bit of a question mark. And we'll see what happens. The offensive punch, the Mariners, is strong, and Jorge Polanco has been that. The Mariners have a lot of confidence because they beat Tarek Skubal in Game 5. No one pitches like Tarek Skubal. I know the Blue Jays got high Cy Young pitching in Scherzer and Bieber, but nobody pitches like Tarek Skubal. And then when we get later in this series, the Blue Jays are going to trot out Max Scherzer and other pitchers who are simply just, the Mariners have seen them before. It's going to be a lot of, potential overuse from the Blue Jays bullpen, the Blue Jays starters. And the Mariners can beat you when they see you. They did that and several times throughout the year, and they have potential. They did in last series. The risks in this game, the schedule is tough. They're playing back-to-back games tonight, Sunday, and Monday. Then they're going to go. So the Mariners have been just at this a long time. And the Blue Jays, they've been waiting for many nights now. Toronto needs to take advantage of the home field. Rogers Center is a unique place. Put some runs up. A lot of bullpen use from both teams. Mariners will lose a key advantage if they cannot bring out Brian Wu. And Toronto's depth in pitching, once they get past Savage and Bieber, is tough. Because Max Scherzer is a great pitcher, but he's older. Chris Bassett's a great pitcher, but you want to bring him out there against a team that could potentially be in a advantageous situation in the Mariners. Toronto needs to win Game 1. Game 2 is the flip point, because if Savage can beat Castillo, this turns the series to a chase. This is a best of 7. First best of 7 for the Mariners in a very long time. And then the Mariners, a lot of bullpen use, a lot of use of their hitters. They have not had as many rest days as the Blue Jays. So who's going to come out starting tonight and tomorrow, particularly in Toronto, and then do it? And then once we get back to Seattle, they have to be the home team. They cannot let the Blue Jays be the home team or the surrogate home team. So we spent 45 minutes here, and we're going to now breeze through the National League because there's no breaks here. And let's just be honest here. Before 12:30, because you and I got to set our fantasy football lineups. So here we go. We're going to start with the 1 seed, the Milwaukee Brewers, against their divisional rival, down I-94, the Chicago Cubs. Who were they the 4 seed? They were the 4 seed, beating the Padres. Game 1. Oh boy, we thought the Cubs had this game in hand. They chased Matt Boyd. Michael Busch again leads off with a home run. And then what happens? The Brewers just lay out double after double after double. They take the lead and don't look back. They scored all 9 runs in 2 innings. Jackson Churio scored 3 RBIs with 2 singles. We lived the game. Thought he missed time. Did play in game 2. Cubs pitching got roughed up. Boyd, Soroka got real turned around. Savali and Brown were much better, but Freddie Peralta, 5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 earned, 9 Ks on 95 pitches. So a Freddie Peralta. I've said it 3 times, but he did exactly what he needed to do once they gave him the lead. And then the Brewers, they did it again. 3-run home run from Seiya Suzuki and 7 unanswered from the Brewers. We got a Vaughn 3-run home run, a Jackson Churio 3-run home run, and the Brewers came from one of the Brewers came from a Contreras home run, and the Brewers bullpen was, how would you describe the Brewers bullpen in game 2? Like, we know we were getting.
It's still pretty good. I mean, Ashby might have got it roughed
Ashby had a
up,
bad game.
but then everyone else, that Brewers pitching staff is just too good. I mean,
Pat Murphy, the pocket pancakes. They were extra good in this game. And then we go to game 3, and when the series went down south, Cubs turned it on. Michael Busch, leadoff home run again. Pete Crow Armstrong, 2 RBI single. Happ scores a wild pitch. And the Cubs did to the Brewers what the Brewers did to the Cubs, because now the Brewers are playing chase and the Cubs hold it. The Brewers threw 7 1/3 innings of shutout baseball from their bullpen. But Jake Bauers, try as he might, did not bring this game back. But the Cubs hold on. And we have a real scenario here that the Cubs can, keep this going. And they did. In game 4, the Cubs shut out the Brewers. And Matt Boyd gets a redemption. If you haven't yet read the story of Matt Boyd, do it. Matt Boyd, we talked about him. I think we talked about him last year with the Guardians. Talked about this year with the Cubs. This guy was cast off into the dark abyss of baseball after some real tough years with the Tigers and the Rangers. The 2 teams, just the Tigers. And comes back with the Guardians and has an absolute stellar season. Becomes a legitimate top-line starter for the Cubs this year. And when they need him most, he strikes out 6 out of 14 outs, 6 are strikeouts. The bullpen for the rest of the game allows just 1 hit, and the Cubs, this is the stat, the Cubs threw 71 fewer pitches than the Brewers in a 9-inning game. 3 home runs is all they need. Happ, Tucker, Busch, again, Michael Busch. And we go to game 5 in Milwaukee last night, Saturday night. We go to the first inning. Bottom of the first, Drew Pomeranz, veteran guy. Contreras comes up, and he put a charge in one. Right into the Brewers bullpen, 1-0. Hot start. Both teams started with openers. So Pomeranz was theirs. McGill was the Brewers. They turned it over to the all-star young flamethrower, Jacob Mizorowski, and Seiya Suzuki got him. He got him on 1 pitch, put one in the Oppo Taco right center field, and tie ball game. Bottom 4, It's Ray on the mound for the Cubs. Andrew Vaughn, another cast off into this dark abyss of baseball, ends up with the Brewers, takes the lead. And then Bryce Terang, who the legend of Bob Uecker, he loved a good Bryce Terang moment. And Bryce Terang did it. 3-1 game set match. And the Brewers win. So the number 1 seed, just like the American League, is on to the next round. And we go to the highlight matchup that was in this round. Dodgers, the 3 seed. The 3 seed playing the 1 seed. The 2 seed. Sorry, I had that backwards. 2 seed. Philadelphia Phillies. My brackets. Forget hockey doesn't do brackets for as I was saying, like doesn't do the brackets like the Major League Baseball. Game 1 in Philadelphia. Ohtani pitches 6, allows 3 runs. But the Dodgers come from behind and win because they take advantage of Dave Robertson and Matt Strahm. Real Muto's triple scored too early. Harrison Bader helped play a run. But the Hernandezes, Kike, 2 doubles home, 2 runs in the 6th, and Teo with a absolute monster 3-run home run. Dodgers bullpen pitches well in this game, seals the win, 5-3. Game 2. Dodgers 4, Phillies 3. A little too late for the Phillies to come back from behind because the Dodgers scored all the runs in the 7th. Fielder's choice RBI, Will Smith, single home to Ohtani. Phillies went to the bullpen after the Freeman double, and that plan, no. That bullpen plan for the Phillies in this series was not good in the first 2 games.
We need to talk about the questionable 9th inning because Dave Roberts put out a questionable decision to put out Trinan, who's been struggling.
Oh, yeah. So, 9th inning. So let's jump to the 9th inning for this game. Though, I will admit, my father, who watches baseball, looked at this 9th inning and being like, the Dodgers are going to give this game away. They're going to give it away. Emmett Sheehan allows the Kepler pitch hit triple earlier in the 8th. Turner scores. Really good outing otherwise. Fine. 9th inning. What happened? Just what happened? Blake Trinan, Luke Weavered. Hard. Couldn't record it out allowed a Castellanos pop
he just threw the bat and it was like it was single after single and then
it was like a broomstick wave and he just got it over the third baseman's head.
4-3 and Castellanos somehow got it at second, so no outs, 1 run away, right? And then obviously they go to Vesia after that.
And Vesia gets bailed out by like textbook amazing defense. For those who are a little less knowledgeable about baseball defensive play names, there's a play when a ball comes closer to home plate and when a player has to move to shift and cover another base, it's called the wheel. In this case, the Dodgers at third base have Max Muncy, at shortstop have Mookie Betts, catcher is Will Smith. Pitching was Matt Vesia.
Alex Vesia.
Alex Vesia. Matt Vesia. Keep doing that. Okay. So Alex Vesia is pitching. They know that Bryson Stott is going to probably bunt to get Castellanos to third. So Max Muncy is inching slightly closer. I feel like, by the way, 5 years ago, we deduced the Mookie Betts catch in center field by defense. 5 years later, we're doing wheel plays. So Bryson Stott lays down a really good bunt. He's down a good bunt. But Max Muncy had the jump on it. And Max Muncy runs down the line, gets the ball off the ground, plants his foot, and instead of going to first, turns around, sees Mookie Betts sprinting to third base, and throws it like a quarterback to a receiver. He leads him to third base. Betts catches it, and he taps the base with his foot, and Castellanos is out by several inches. Like, it's not close.
Yeah, that's the fatal mistake here was like, this was a second attempt, right? Because the first attempt, you saw the wheel play happening, and I feel like the bad combination of Rob Thompson not seeing that Dodgers were playing for wheel play, and then second is Castellanos being a horrible base runner, also being slow. Mookie was running with him. You could tell that he was ahead of him in the first play. They should have called off that bunt, and just went for straight hitting because now you have the guys in and call it off. But then Castellanos was like literally had a poor lead, and Mookie was already there way before Castellanos got the third.
It was like a quarterback and a receiver. It's like they called the play, they called the post route, and it's like, you're going to go to the boundary, and I'm going to hit you. And he threw it. And Max Muncy threw that ball just inches before the base, and he led Mookie to tap his foot, and it's a force play. So he's out.
No, it's not a force play.
It's not
a tag play. It's a tag because he's the runner on second. So he was out by a mile, though. Castellanos was out by a mile.
Right. So he tapped the base, and then he planted his foot and tagged him. So he's out. He was out either way. I take that back. I'm sorry about that. I thought there was a run on first. So yes, taps the base, turns around, tags him, clear. Apologize for getting my fact straight. I thought it was a run on first, but now there's no one on except Bryson Stott at first, and Bader singles. Kepler gets a fielder's choice, and Roki Sasaki has to come in and finish the game, but this game's over. The Dodgers almost blew it, and then the Phillies blew it because the Phillies couldn't, string the runs together. So that means Game 3 is a deciding game in Los Angeles. I'll get this one quickly. Phillies just bomb out. Kyle Schwarber, 2 home runs, multiple runs in the 4th and the 8th. Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez do the damage they need to do. Tommy Edman was the only source of offense. Game over. Phillies 8, Dodgers 2. We go to Game 4. And yes, we talked about how the stunning, wonderful ending to the Mariners-Tigers series. The end of this game was tragic. The end of this game, of Game 4, was absolutely tragic. Sanchez versus Glasnow was awesome.
Yeah.
Sanchez, 6 2/3, 5 hits, 1 earned, 5 Ks on 95 pitches.
And earned came from Yohan Duran because I think they took him out in the 7th, right? After a beautiful pitch, and Duran walked Mookie. So that's the context.
So Glasnow pitched a great game, 6 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 8 Ks on 83 pitches. So Glasnow, who has been habitually injured, he's back pitching great. The whole game hinged on a awful play. So I'm going to talk about the actual play, but Kazuki's probably going to offer some a little more insight into this. So the bases are loaded with 2 outs. Andy Pages is up to bat. So basically, a hit means a run. And all Pages has to do is to make them make a play. And Orion Kerkering is on the mound in the 9th. Which, to Kazuki just said, if you caught it earlier, Yohan Duran was used in the 7th.
No, it's extras, Brandon. It was
the 11th? The 11th, right? 11th? Yeah. Sorry, 11th. Yeah. So Yohan Duran was already used. So we have, I didn't write extra innings in this mound. I'm sorry.
So Yohan Duran, and he had Strom, and then he had Jesus Luzardo, who started the inning. He was pitching really well again, like he did in Game 2. But then he gave up 2 base runners, and then Orion Kerkering came in, and he was supposed to he got Edman out, and then he just started walking people, and then Pages is what was up.
So let's quickly go through this, just so I get the evolution of this. This was the 11th inning or the 10th inning?
I think it's 11th.
11th, okay. So they've already used Duran, and they've had to scramble to put pitchers in to kind of make up the difference. Okay. So bases are loaded. Orion Kerkering is pitching. We love Orion Kerkering. Great pitcher. Andy Pages hits a dribbler back to Kerkering. Kerkering plants his feet and doesn't even look to first, where he has Pages by about 5 feet. And obviously, he throws it to first base. The wheel, there's no wheel route. There's no wheel play on. It's over. And
no, he threw, actually, to break it down the sequence, Realmuto, the catcher, was literally pointing him to throw it to first, but
he had his arm out.
He bobbles it and sure throws it home, but
Right.
he threw it way over his head.
Right. So Orion Kirkring picks up the ball and then drops it, and then picks it up again, and then he looks Real Muto right in the face and just throws it to the screen. He just throws it to the screen. And at that point, he had no chance of getting out the runner at home at that point at all. 1. 2, he still had time to throw it to first, and he didn't. And he was a prisoner of the moment, a very poor fielding choice. But this was game ending, series ending, season ending, like tragic.
I'd probably also call it probably a window closing moment, because if you look at the Phillies free agency and their core, like, I think it might be shut. They don't have a farm system.
They sold their farm system. All the other players have been
pretty much Dombrowski special. So all you have is Painter, Crawford, and one other, and Miller. Those are the only 3 prospects, but that's not going to be enough to replace Schwarber, Ranger Suarez. There's so many pitchers there's so many players that's going to be on free agent.
And you don't know if Zach Wheeler's going to come back. So you have a lot of
questions. A free agent, so you don't have a catcher. Like, I don't have confidence in Marchand to like replace Real Muto. So there's a lot of question marks for the Phillies.
And that ends it. It's done. So now we have, I would say, if you are a baseball fan, this series, Dodgers versus Brewers, is what you wanted. You wanted this because you got game 1 and 2 in Milwaukee starting Monday night. And on the call for this series will be the Brewers' home TV broadcaster, who we love, B.A. Brian Anderson. He is going to have the time of his life calling this series, I hope. I mean, I'm a radio guy. I'll post on the radio for most of these games. But Brian Anderson and Jeff Francoeur and Lauren Shahadi on the call is going to be just a great one. And then we're going to have 3 to 5 in Los Angeles, and we're going to go back to Milwaukee for 6-7. So it's 2-3-2. Brewers swept the Dodgers this year. They had a 31-9 run differential. The Brewers hit tons of home runs against the Cubbies. The Dodgers beat the Phillies pretty much on like anything you can imagine. Like, they just did whatever they want, and they won. Their bullpen, Tanner Scott is not there anymore for the Dodgers. And Kirby Yates is also injured. So Roki Sasaki has transitioned to being the closer. Blake Trinan, can't trust him. You can't trust Vesia. You can't trust anybody except Roki Sasaki and it's Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Sasaki are the only pitchers you could trust in this entire scenario for the Dodgers right now.
I mean, I would trust Blake Snell. Blake Snell has been dominant.
I forgot Blake Snell
and Glasnow. Yeah, the starters you could trust. You just can't trust the bullpen.
I skipped over them because we haven't heard about them until this series. Blake Snell's quietly done so well. I mean, talk about a run for Cy Young in the NL. Glasnow back from injury. I always skip over them for some reason when I talk about this. But Yamamoto and Ohtani, so they go 4 deep to start. And they probably will. And Pat Murphy will do whatever he wants to start. He got Peralta, he can do whatever he wants. So let's talk about the profiles of these teams, because it's going to be a trip. The Dodgers.
Before we go into it, we have to mention the biggest elephant in the room is Ohtani did not perform well this NLDS, so he needs to course correct. He only had 1 hit against the Phillies. 1 for 20.
It was an RBI single, but it was only 1 hit.
Yeah, 1 for 20, 9 strikeouts.
His pitching was great, and then he had given up those 3 runs, which is pause. So let's talk about the Dodgers. Power and patience and experience. That's what they got. They have the highest walk rate. Their on-base percentage is top 3 in the league. They lead the MLB in home runs and slugging. They strike out a lot, which is a problem. Much as they walk, they also strike out a lot. Their starting pitching is Mariners are top class in the American. The Dodgers are getting close. Snell, like it's the Kazuki corrected me. I short shrifted them too. Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Glasnow are your 4 starters. The bullpen, it's tough because you have Sasaki, Vesia, and then like Sheehan. Is Kershaw going to come in the bullpen again? He was not great. So you got some questions. And the defense is good. We saw some greatness, but each position is good individually. Together, put it all together. The Brewers, they can do anything. They'll do anything. They can do anything. What will they do? We have no idea. The rotation. Peralta, Reister, Quintana. Anyone else? Anyone? We got.
Yeah, I mean, and then Mizrowski, obviously, but he's probably going to be a bulk reliever. So
Right, and then McGill is the closer. Jared Koenig,
and Abner has been great.
Abner pitched last night.
Yeah.
So we'll see Andy Ashby.
Yeah, Aaron Ashby and
Aaron Ashby, question mark. Their defense is so good. It's really good. They have a great set of contact hitters who can come up big when they need to, and that's Yelich, Churio, Contreras, and Vaughn. So we'll see how. Well, we have to all stay healthy. Yelich has been off and on with health. Churio and William Contreras has been real good. Strikeout rate is lower, but not low enough to be.
Can we talk about the reclamation project and Andrew Vaughn? Like, he destroyed the Cubs.
Yes.
Like,
so
he was a negative 1.2 WAR guy from White Sox. He was the top prospect. Did absolutely nothing for the White Sox. Gets traded for Aaron Civale because I don't know how they got it. What's his performance? But he turned his season around once he became Brewer and hit 1.8 WAR, and now he's a key piece of this whole playoff run.
First baseman. He is a key cog in that in the middle of their batting order, and he is patrolling first. Like that is his realm. Everything goes through him, and I think the team kind of knows that. Like, they know, like, he has earned his place. It's a cultural thing for the Brewers. Like, you earn your place on that team. So let's go to some other themes. Starting pitching, the edge goes to the Dodgers because, like Kazuki said, Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Tyler Glasnow are very good and very experienced. Yamamoto lesser so, and Ohtani obviously needs to build himself back up. But Snell and Glasnow have been here before with the Dodgers and the Rays against the Dodgers. But so they've been here before. The bullpen, the edge for the bullpen goes to the Brewers, because Pat Murphy can do whatever he wants and it somehow works. You have an all-star pitcher in Jacob Mizrowski. You have a top-notch closer in McGill. And then in between, you got whatever you want to put into place, and it works. Ohtani needs to pull himself, just build himself back up and just start over again. Be like you were in the regular season. The last series against the Phillies, not so good. It was better against the Reds, but not so good against the Phillies. The Brewers are boom or bust right now. I don't think that's a good strategy. Do you think it's a good strategy it's not a good strategy against the Dodgers?
It won't be a good strategy, but they've historically been like the Blue Jays, low strikeout, high contact rate, guys that run the bases very well, very much speed.
Right.
So.
Defense is the strength of the Brewers, and the psychological edge is the Milwaukee Brewers have all that to play for. They have the confidence of beating the Cubs, beating their divisional opponent, and they also, 6-game winning streak against the Dodgers, and they have home field advantage. So the series leans on a couple of things: Ohtani's ability to rebound, Sasaki's ability to handle the bullpen, the close and back end of the bullpen. The Brewers, can they come out of being a home run dependent team and put their starting pitching in a good spot? Because other than Peralta, got to string some wins together. And the Dodgers need to get some great innings on their rotation because their bullpen is yikes again. And it's yikes not because they're bad. Let's be very clear. It's not because they're bad. It's yikes because they just are volatile and they're injured. And you don't know who fills what role anymore. Like Blake Trinan, he's our closer. No. Tanner Scott, he's not there. Kirby Yates, he's not there. And it's just like you have to fill these holes, and you don't know who's going to fill each hole. Like when the Yankees were great in the 90s, early 2000s, every pitcher knew their spot. And when you talk about like the Guardians this year, we talk about a lot of teams that just like came back from even the Brewers. Every pitcher has a spot in the bullpen. The Dodgers have never had that this year, and even worse now. And that's a tenuous topic. And if the Milwaukee Brewers can make these games tight, that benefits them more than the Dodgers, because the Dodgers we want to win by 5. We want to win by 3. If the Brewers can keep this to 2-1, 3-1, 4-2, under 6 runs, this benefits them, especially on the road, because the Dodgers are going to want to bust out at home, and they can't do it against these strong pitchers. So if that goes the way, this is going to go a long way. This could probably go 6-7 games, and it depends who's going to win each one. And the starting pitching is going to be probably the linchpin. And we know the starting pitching tends to favor the Dodgers. So if the Dodgers starting pitching wins out, benefits them. And if they have to go to bullpen games, that's the Brewers. That's the Brewers all the way. So we'll see what happens. That starts Monday night in Milwaukee. And we're going to close it out. It's 12-12. So thank you for joining us. It's an early morning start for a lot of our listeners. Please be sure to keep track of us on LinkedIn, YouTube, podcast, wherever you get there, because next round is we're going to be here between the Championship Series and for the World Series. So our shout outs to Cowboy Bob, Regular Virginia, the matriarch Margaret Shelton, all our lovely canine friends, Boone, Winnie, Bandit, Gatsby, Jake, and all our fluffy listeners and friends. Thank you so much for getting up with us early on this Sunday morning and now early afternoon. We will be back for the World Series preview. Maybe in a week, maybe in a bit longer. But the next time we know that an American League team that has not been to the World Series either ever or since 1993 will be there. And the National League could have a repeat champion contender or a team that just finds a way to win in the Milwaukee Brewers. So until then, enjoy the baseball, and we will see you very soon. All right, I'm good.
Awesome.